Yeah, I want to do a quick one with this one just because I was going to work on making the upload for this like a more detailed upload, but I'm like, man, let me just go ahead and get this out the way right now. Just do it. So her true body count, like, I'm gonna speak from an inverted perspective with this, as I do with a majority of my content. But yes, with this in particular, I want to talk about her true body count. From my perspective, it's not necessarily like everyone else's. So what I mean by this is, everybody talks about the body count as far as how many sexual partners she had. Okay, that aside, we know about that. But what if I were to tell you that her true body count is a spiritual one, not just necessarily a not just necessarily a physical one. Okay, so uh, basically all the broken hearts that she's had in her past, all the different guys that she never connected with, not just merely the guys that she had sex with, but the guys that she never connected with, the guys that really loved her, the guys that wanted her to be their wife. And she broke their hearts. She walked away from them. That's her true body count. The guys that she should have stayed with that she didn't stay with, like that's her true body count. You can even call it a soul count because that man pretty much drained a lot of who he is, his essence, onto her. And she took that away instead of reciprocating it. You see what I'm saying? She didn't fully receive that man, just like she didn't fully receive all the other guys. You know what I'm saying? She took what they gave her and ran off with it. That's the true body count. It's more of a spiritual one, not necessarily a physical one. I get the physical part, how many bodies as far as how many sexual partners she had, but no, that's minuscule compared to the souls of guys that actually loved her that she walked away from. And she has to remember this all the days of her life. All the different guys that she had the opportunity of having a life with that she refused to have a life with. Not knowing if some of them guys were able to sleep at night afterwards. Not knowing if some of these guys wanted to take themselves out afterwards because they didn't believe they were any good for anybody else because she basically didn't see those guys as good enough for her. You know, she's done this to a lot of guys, telling them to move on, you can heal, I'm gonna move on. We did what we did, that's just it, that's just our relationship, that's just life. Have a nice life. And she goes on about her way after this guy has given her a lot of his time, a lot of his sexual energy, emotional energy, even economical energy. She took all that from him, no reciprocation. That's a true body count. All that is left behind, that wasteland that she left behind, those burnt bridges that she left behind with all these different guys. And wondering why it's hard for her to find somebody now. Well, all that karma caught up with you. All that karma caught up with you because of all them broken hearts that you made back in the day. All them different broken and sunken relationships that you made back in the day. All those counts are now catching up. Your days were numbered in regards to these type of counts, you know. Uh, and no pun intended, I'm just saying as far as just one thinking they can get away with just messing with a man's heart as far as like uh, you basically use a lot of guys. You didn't love them. You didn't love them, you know. That's the real body count. It ain't really just necessarily the sexual one. Hey, what's good, Cortez? I see you, fam. I see you. I see you. Talking about that real body count. Yeah. Not just necessarily a sexual one, but a spiritual one. With every broken heart, uh, that's the real body count. Messing with that man's soul, with his spirit. You know how it is with men, in his nature, he's made to do a certain thing. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of girls play on that, not realizing you messing with his God essence. Literally, she's playing with God. When you play with a man, you're literally playing with God. Real talk. And I'm not just saying that he's God, but he's in the image of quote God. You playing with him. Don't play with him, ladies. Cause I always like to say this is my new spin on stuff. Like They say hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Well, I say hell hath no fury like a man that warns. Hey, all in the same, right? So, but that's part of the real body count. That's why I say this: the real karma that I've seen with a lot of gals as they get older is when a lot of them aren't able to do as they used to do. Not even physically, like meaning like she can't even walk right. She's crippled, and that's not just necessarily due to all the different guys she had sex with. A lot of times, life can just stricken her to just be in a certain way now because all that freedom she had back in the day, and she took guys for granted. Now that caught up with her when she finally feels like she can settle down in life. But now you're just walking around licking all these wounds. All this stuff being brought back onto her. All this real karma, right? All this real karma coming up on her. Uh, the whole idea of a gal dying alone, like Kevin Samuels said, that's part of the real body count of hers catching up too. Like I said, not just merely all the sexual partners she had, just all the guys that she's broken hearts of, all these broken hearts. All that's caught up with her because now, the most broken heart of her that she's starting to have now is realizing that, hey, it all comes back to you. What goes around comes around. Now you got to know what a broken heart feels like. Hey, I see you, Unique. I see you. I see you. See you up in the building. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So we're gonna just continue to watch out for this, y'all. We're gonna continue to watch out for all this because this is what's going on out here. This is what's really going on. That real body count, these really broken hearts that are occurring out here. Guys that actually want to be with women. Okay, like they be saying out here in the mental sphere. A lot of guys want to be with women. I ain't just necessarily talking about guys that want to go overseas, and I ain't talking about all these other guys that want to be players and pimps and max and all that. I'm talking about guys that really want to be with a woman. I'm not talking about simps either. I'm talking about a guy that's really, you know, a man about his business. And he knows the way a woman needs to be around his business. But, gals want to try to break these guys' heart. The guy actually wants to show love. He could have already had a sexual thing with her and even possibly marriage. But she broke off the marriage. She divorced him for no mere reason for the fact that she's probably messing around with a dude that's about to get out of jail that she didn't tell him about. Right? So it's little stuff like that. But that's what her real body count is. It ain't just necessarily a sexual one. It's really a spiritual one. It's an emotional one. Trust me, that gal is going to sleep every night thinking about every heart that she broke. I promise you she is. She wakes up smoking all that weed thinking about it, right? They all smoke. A lot of them all smoke weed, right? Or they go get them little drinks, or they drive their car real fast. She's thinking about all them hearts that she broke back in the day. I promise you. Her real body count. Thanks a million for stopping by. Catch y'all on the next one.